Okay, so we are recording, and yeah, let's get started on the NFT space, man. First of all, like, have you been keeping up with the NFT space at all, or are you kind of, stepping back or stepping in? What's going on with you, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the NFT space, just like crypto, right? What happens is when prices are down, people kind of step out. There's not as much hype, but there's still a lot of things going on. So I do, I keep track of kind of like the projects that I'm involved in, and then just seeing if like how the meta is changing within NFTs, and really trying to pick a trend before I jump in. In terms of trading, I haven't really been doing much. I've just kind of been selling more than buying. I haven't bought anything in the past few weeks, but that's also because NFT prices are coming down as crypto prices are going up. That's what I've
Mm,
kind of been noticing. So in that case, I've been selling off some of my NFTs, some of the ones that I've just been holding for a while, and there's not a lot of activity. Said I might as well just take the ETH and ride that train for as long as that works out. And then there will always be new NFTs, new projects, new metas, and then I can jump it back in there. I think with
yeah.
NFTs and with crypto in general, patience is the key, because sometimes, especially with NFTs, because it's very visual, and then you can see the volume move really quickly, and there's influencers pumping it. The NFT space is pretty tight. You'll see, you'll experience a lot of FOMO, probably
Right.
more so than in actual crypto trading.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, especially regarding the larger factors of how crypto has gone on over the months. And then I think for the most part, I mean, obviously NFT volumes have gone down overall. I think the volume itself, whatever is remaining, is concentrated in a few collections. Yeah, sure, there are a few newer collections that are deploying, but I don't think they have the same hype, the same sort of energy, the same money that they did, say 6 months or 1 year ago, right? Obviously, the dynamics of the market have completely changed due to the macro picture. But other things that I found interesting was how much value is actually still in the NFT space. I was honestly thinking, like, by the time June or July rolled around, like most of the space would have blown up in NFTs. And by the end of this year, I would have figured like 95% of the projects will be down, like, I don't know, more than like, 90%. But surprisingly, some are doing well, like DeGods community, still keep in touch with them. Amazing community. I mean, honestly, like they're holding up much better than I thought. And obviously, I sold my DeGod, but I still like the collection. I still like the community. I love the hustle. So it seems like there's still some teams out there that the market respects and sees, like whether it's Yuga Labs or Punks or DeGods, Bored Apes, Mutant Apes. Some of these collections, they're only down maybe like 50, 60%. What do you sort of make of that?
Yeah, I think like we mentioned DeGods and these other ones that are out there. And we've been talking about this for a long time, ever since we've been in the NFT space. I feel like last year we probably had this conversation when we started the NFT channel. It's been about a year or so in the Discord. And we've been saying that, like, the majority of the NFTs are just not going to make it. And in reality, you can see how they're started, who they're started by, their plans. Like if you've been in business, or if you have experience kind of in general and just working in a business, you'll know that a lot of these projects, when they were created, they've created a roadmap. There's really nothing to the roadmap. We're just kind of buying into, like, the old crypto hype of, oh, this person partnered with this person, this company is running this chain, but that doesn't really mean much for the actual holders. Like, you don't benefit necessarily from that. And I think that, like, it is very difficult to keep the hype going. And we've seen a lot of projects kind of fade because their developers have moved on to other NFTs, or their community just kind of fades when the price fades down. And so, you've seen a lot of, the communities that have a lot of activity that are going on, and the people are developing. And then it's not just about like the actual developers or the community managers holding up the community, but when the community kind of supports each other, they branch out to other projects. DeGods is a good example of this, where a lot of people that are DeGods holders are also very skilled, and they went out and developed other projects. And
Totally.
DeGods in the communities has helped to support that, right? So I think it's an ever growing community for people like DeGods, but then there's a lot of other ones that people are just building these projects, and they're quite shallow. There's a nice pump that comes up. They've built up a lot of anticipation, but then the longevity of the community is really dependent, more than just the founders and the developers. It's really the community members and kind of like, what they're doing. And I guess I'll give you a good example of this as well, is that, with Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? So
Yeah.
you got a lot of benefits of being a Bored Ape holder, because you got a lot of these drops, they continued to develop. So it was good. It was nice to be rewarded as a holder, but at the same time, the community is extremely strong, and you've seen a lot of people do things with their Bored Ape, like in terms of IP rights, building other projects. A local guy here, his name's Andy Nguyen. He's a local restaurateur, right? He bought into Bored Ape pretty late in the game, like late last year, went almost at the top of the market.
Yeah.
Probably paid 100 plus ETH for his ape. However, that guy, being a serial entrepreneur and a pretty famous restaurant guy out here, he created a pop-up shop called Bored and Hungry, right? And so this
Wow.
Bored and Hungry, they took over this like old school like hamburger shop like in Long Beach, and then they just completely branded it as Bored and Hungry, Bored Ape, and then got really accepted well by the community. And this guy really knows how to create hype. Like, if you're familiar with, I don't know if you have it over there where you're at, but over here there's a restaurant, there's a ice cream place that was very well known called like After's Ice Cream and things like that. He's
Yeah.
a very good marketer. He started that, right? So he
Wow.
has the experience to do that. They've started Bored and Hungry, and then now they're doing a NFT project called Food Fighters, and this is really like he knows, he has expertise in that area, and he's built the trust and support with the Bored Ape community to support him, and they've it's part of this, the community is just supporting it overall. So I think I've seen a lot of people do really cool things within Web3, within NFTs, within IP, for like IP and branding, and you're not going to be able to do that if the community is not supporting you, right? So
Totally. Yeah.
I think that's why brands like Bored Ape Yacht Club and DeGods and things like that have stood the test of time, even though they've only been around for a little bit over a year. But I think that like, if from my mindset, I'm a lot older than people that are playing in the NFT field, where they're just buying, flipping NFTs, just degen shit. I'm really seeing kind of like the evolution of it, where it's more than just a JPEG, and I truly believe that.
Yeah,
But
and I'm glad you said that, because one thing I'm starting to recognize, and I hope people from who are watching this video take away, is obviously like the whole NFT space, at least to most people, is new. Like new as in like the last year and a half, 2 years at most. And so the mistakes that these NFT communities made, I'm starting to now recognize what are those mistakes and how can I recognize them and not buy into some garbage project, right? Like not some pump and dump and not some money grab and cash grab or whatever, where I know that developers don't really have any way out. So I'm starting to look at projects from that kind of lens. So this morning, like I got this email from this project called GenoPets. Now, it actually sounds pretty cool because I remember seeing them several months ago. This is sort of like a move to earn, as well as a game on the Solana network. And I thought it was cool. But then when I started to talk to people, I was like, this kind of sounds like a mix between STEPN, which is the move to earn protocol, and the Magic like Treasure DAO, right? It's like somewhere in the middle of those two, or cross between both of those. And I was like, what is like the real value add, and why should people continue on this thing, and how can they continue playing this game if the whole goal is to be able to collect these tokens and basically dump them at market, right? Like I think there's a lot of pieces within the NFT space when people are starting to create these JPEGs or create these tokens that you get for staking your JPEG, right? I don't think people are recognizing like, well, what's the whole purpose? Like, what's the end game here? Have you sort of thought that through?
Yeah, I think about that a lot actually, and and I think Steppen is really cool. I know they've kind of, when they first came out in December of last year, I looked at it and I said, like I'm not sure about this smooth to earn thing. I didn't go into it, but as they've actually developed it out, they've got a dual token model, right? So there's GMT and then there's GST, and then there was a point in time where GST is the primary token that you earn, or is the only token that you earn by going on walks. You use it as utility to upgrade your sneaker. I mean, they have I wouldn't say it's a deflationary model, but they have a actual use case for it where you wear your sneaker and then you have to repair it, right? So GST is that utility token, and then you can also sell your sneakers, by breeding them together, and then you can get additional GST. Now the GMT token on the other side is, like more of their, call it a governance token or whatever it is, and that one has, it's almost back up to $1, which is actually pretty good. But I think that like Steppen's a good example of a Web3 type business or app that is beyond just a JPEG, because those shoes, they don't really look that good. And there's tons of them. There's so many of them. But what's the ultimate? And then they're constantly being bred and produced, right? So they've had to pivot many times. But what's the ultimate goal for a company like Steppen is, they're creating an opportunity to gamify exercise. And we know that that is a need, right? And there's so many people that have done that with apps like Strava or, or like Nike has their own app, Adidas has their own app that tracks your run, right? And then even like using your Apple Watch or something like that. We want to keep track of and get motivated to do the certain things, that are good for us, like exercise. So I think that like what Steppen is doing is now they're working with major brands to come out with like co-branded sneakers. They're working to bring other chains on board. So they were not just Solana, and then they were Binance as well, or BSC chain. But now there's an ape chain that's kind of coming on board, right? And that's a different, I think they call them realms, but I'm not sure, but it could just be something like now they're building an entire ecosystem to kind of support different communities. So I think that like it's well thought out. Unfortunately, probably for people that are holding Steppen or holding GST, the value of the NFT is not as high as it used to be. But that's also because there's more supply, people are earning less, people fall out of favor with it. But I think, like these types of businesses, I think it's a good example of what Web3 can be. I know that probably not a lot of people look at Steppen and they laugh and they're like, okay, well, you bought into this Ponzi.
Right.
But in reality, like, I don't think it's just a straight up Ponzi. I think that the goal of what they're trying to do and building with traditional brands, bringing them to Web3, I think it's really cool. There's a lot of regulations that they bypass and they didn't pay attention to, but they're trying.
Yeah, they are trying it, and I agree. Like, I think like one thing I've learned about crypto is it's like Ponzi-nomics is like a spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most things in crypto can be classified into the Ponzi, definition, but there is some sort of reality or some rationalism to the Ponzi-nomics too, because you have to be able to sort of like create a way for other people to get on board in crypto, because most people in crypto are attracted to, token go up or value go up or price go up, right?
Right.
And if that means that, well, you have to buy XYZ token to be able to participate in this ecosystem for move to earn, or you have to buy some NFT to be part of this community, and then you could stake that NFT to earn more tokens that is associated with that NFT. I get it. Like, yes, that is basically Ponzi-nomics, because you're hoping that the token prices go up because you're hoping that the next person will pay a higher price for the NFT or the token itself, right? So that would be sort of the definition of how the Ponzi house of cards works. But I can understand why they have to do it in crypto. I think my problem with all of this is that, you know, most of these models are not sustainable, especially in market conditions that are deteriorating, right? Like, because as more and more money gets pulled and interest is lost, the system itself collapses on itself. And I don't think like most projects have thought that through, is like, how do you survive through sort of the Armageddon of a capital crunch in crypto? You know, I think that's like a real test.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think that those ones that raised funds just off of mint and expect to be able to ride out the storm without seeking additional funding may not survive. And so you can see that even some of the top projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club, Yuga Labs, they're getting outside funding, right?
Yeah.
VC funding, and that's how you start a real business, right? So if you think about, like, you know, it was a good fundraise initial round to sell an NFT, but how do you take it beyond that when people are just, you know, you're relying on the money that you raised from mint? If you didn't cash that out or sell that, then how do you pay the people that are working for you? And then there's this stigma, or there was this stigma where, you know, like everything's transparent. So like, hey, you raised $1 million from mint. Why did you sell all that ETH for, you know, US dollars? Well,
Totally.
because you have to pay people in you know, to work. But $1 million is a lot of money, but it's not that much money if you're trying to support a team of, you know, 20 people for how long, and then what are you trying to build, right? So I think that the ones that can sustain are the ones that go out and seek outside investment as well to kind of build up infrastructure, and we're not reliant on community funds or community effort or like exchange commissions or royalties in order to survive. So I, you know, kind of look at this as there are a lot of people that want to invest in the space and that have invested in the space, and you know, I think the ones that will survive are the ones that have that funding as a cushion for operating for operating expenses. And then, you know, like, they don't, it sucks because like with Stepin, those guys constantly say, you know, the barrier to entry to enter Stepin is too high. Like, people are, you know, spending $1,000 for a pair of shoes to enter, when in reality in Web3, you know, it's not going to necessarily be about the money entry. You know, I believe that in Web3, and I think I've talked about this for a long time, the NFTs will be free. It'll be so easy for any brand or business to incorporate NFTs into their existing marketing strategy or community building strategy, that the
Yeah.
NFT will be a part of that. And, you know, the barrier to entry will just be, it'll be down to free, or down to, like, you know, rewarding their most loyal customers in one way or another. So
Yeah.
I think that that's the case, and like, people just, we have to take it back, where you have to get into the mindset where NFTs, all about money and flipping NFTs, it's still going to be there, but that's not the main priority for people that are building.
Yeah, 100%. So, okay, well, what about now, right? Like, if people are looking at this video, they're like, okay, hey, we see the market moving up a little bit. Maybe crypto is bottom. Maybe we're going to start a new bull market, or, you know, mean revert or whatever, right? Like, do you think there are opportunities in the NFT space right now? Or do you think that there's a lot of like cleansing to still do, and it's just like not worth it? Where are you?
Yeah, I think I approach this just like how I approach any type of investing, right? I'm not going to go all in on one project, one coin, one asset, because I just don't know. If I knew, then, like, you know, it would be so easy, right? We would just say, all right, I'm going to go all in. I'm not the degen, like, you know, that probably is the most stereotypical degen, where, you know, I'm just going to degen all my net worth into NFTs or into leverage trading or into whatever, right? So like, I do have a NFT fund. I separate my capital. So I've got NFT fund, and I started this last year, and I said, I'm not going to put any more ETH into this NFT, and I'm not going to take any out. So this is just going to be the fund that I play around with. And then on the other side, I think that, you know, you have to look at, so what happens in the current market right now, as the price of ETH went from $1,200 to now, I don't know what it is, $1,800. That's, you basically doubled the value of your NFT if your NFT floor price is still say the same in terms of ETH value. But just looking at the NFTs that I hold, people aren't willing to pay that much for them in terms of ETH or SOL value. We've seen a lot of them go down significantly. I would say DeGods is holding up well because I've looked at it and it's still, you know, like hasn't really budged. But there's a lot of other projects that just got completely cut in half, and it's people that, you know, that some people don't have the extra SOL or the extra ETH to play around, and then if they have to enter new capital in there, the cost to buy something just doubled. So it's I think that,
the market,
you know,
the market has basically like cut most people's money in 50% or 70%, even if you held just you know, the tokens itself. And then if you were trading or whatever, you sold or up and down and traded, you're down a lot more.
Yeah, man, like just like anything, man. Like I bought in, you know, like for Magic, I've been in Magic for or Treasure DAO for almost a year now. I mean, I think they launched last year in November, and that's one of those things where that price fluctuated from like a penny all the way up to $6, and it's just dependent on the situation. It's like, did you buy in at $6, and where are you feeling about it now? You're probably less bullish if you bought in at $6 and you're still holding. You're probably a little bit annoyed, you know, that it went down to 20 cents. But like for, you know, for other people that have kind of been in it, and I got, you know, I was in small brains early. I took a risk early. I mean, I got it for free. It was just a free mint. But, you know, at one point, one small brain NFT was like $38,000. So it's just insane, right? And I didn't sell because, you know, I was like, okay, I could have sold. I should have, would have, could have, but, you know, still hanging on to it.
You're human.
Yeah, man, everyone's in a different situation. And it's just like, you know, if you bought one for $5,000, $10,000, your thought process is going to be much different. But I just try to approach it as balanced as I possibly can, because like I've burned myself many times in the past. I've been in crypto since, I don't know, 2017 or 2016. And there's been many times where I've just gone all in and I'm like, okay, that was dumb. And then it's worth nothing now. And then I have no more ammo to play with. So I can't afford to make mistakes if you're going all in.
Right. Yeah. Well,
if you can buy an NFT that, you know, like, and you have to take a chance, like, dude, OK Bears, right? Like we all took a chance on OK Bears, and well, not all of us, but like some of us were lucky that we were able to get into OK Bears in the very beginning. And I minted it at 1.5 SOL, right? And then so right now it's probably sitting around 50 or 60 SOL. Obviously, it's a massive gain, but you know, at one point that was 300 SOL. So if you bought, you gotta look for opportunities where you have unfair advantage, and then you have a reduced risk. So if I lost 1.5 SOL, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed, but not like super pissed as losing, you know, buying it at like 100 SOL and it being down to 50. So it's just kind of like, you know, look for those, you know, unfair opportunities, or like we call it, it's not insider trading, but like if you were able to get an insider trade type inside info, you trade off of that.
It's, I think you're right. Like, it's like price perspective, right? Like it all depends on where you got in, and, you know, how much you're up and what your exposure is to crypto right now, how much you've been trading with, how much you're down overall in your portfolio. And based on that, you either feel really shitty on any given day right now, or you feel okay, or you're like, okay, you know what, it is what it is, right? So I'm completely there with you. I think people are starting to realize like crypto is a very cyclical market, cyclical asset class rather, and everything associated with crypto is also very cyclical, because it all is completely dependent on, you know, the liquidity of the environment, right? When cryptos as a whole starts crashing, BTC, Ethereum, Solana, etc., you can almost guarantee that majority of the space is going to start to break down. I think this is probably going to be a lesson, you know, for the next sort of bull run class of 2024, if you will, that a lot of this asset class is very much tied together. Maybe someday it won't be, but at least for now it is. And, for now, these are the lessons to learn. Just, being careful with your portfolio and how you manage things.
I mean, we've learned these lessons many times, like in the equities market, right? So
Many,
it's nothing
yeah,
different, nothing different, man. It's the same thing, different asset, but it's that same mentality of like FOMO, or not taking a chance on something and not doing your research. And sometimes when you do your research, you may be wrong. No one's going to be right all the time, but like,
totally.
I think you have a higher conviction trade. There's been like my equities portfolio, the ones that I didn't sell last year, just got completely crushed this year. So I don't know if we'll ever recover, but like, it's one of those things where just take multiple shots and buy the things that you believe in. Like I do
Yeah.
Amazon day in and day out every day, right? And then when I bought back into Amazon about 6 weeks ago, because after their first quarter earnings, and everything was just getting crushed, right? They were down 37-40% from their
Yeah.
highs. And I'm glad I did, because then, because I'm buying into companies that I know and that I believe in and that we live in, day in and day out. I could have bought into so many other ones that could have gone up higher, but I don't have that same conviction as I do with, what I know.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like Amazon is definitely one of those companies where you're like, all right, like, let's be real. Amazon's not going away anytime soon. We literally use it in every day of our lives. Like, it's not like, when someone tells me, well, just hang on, man, like, you got to hold on to, some link token or whatever, because it's going to
Right.
change your life forever. Like, dude, I've never freaking used link in my life. It's a very different thing. So I think crypto is like, yeah, very, very cyclical in that nature. And you have to just kind of look at things and say, okay, I'm going to chalk this up as a loss. Even if I do my research, I should expect things to not pan out exactly as perfectly as I hope they would.
Yeah. So are you holding any NFTs right now?
NFTs, yeah, a few. I mean, there's a few that I definitely want to talk about. Like, I want you to talk about a few as well. Some of mine have just, kind of withered away or gone to shit. But
Sure.
so this GenoPets thing, I've been looking at. So I picked up some of the Geno tokens. I'm still exploring the thing because I feel like, this move to earn phenomenon that Steppen and GMT came out with. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can get into Geno, and maybe this might be the next, Steppen protocol. So that's one. DeGods already told y'all I sold out of. There's this other thing I got into, which is called drug receipts. It's kind of
Yep.
interesting. I think you and I had a conversation about this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like, I kind of just looked into them. I saw a couple of videos. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool. I like their hoodies. I like, their merch associated with the drug receipts like brand. So I picked up a few of these, and I think that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. Oh, and then of course the Treasure DAO stuff I still have. I haven't sold out of it. I still have Cosmic Universe. They actually just launched a game. Let me see. I'm still part of their Discord right here. So Cosmic Universe, they actually moved from One Harmony chain to AVAX, and they did it pretty successfully as, moving their game entirely from One Harmony to AVAX. So I have a couple of their tokens, magic tokens, as well as a couple of their NFTs. I think that's pretty much it. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I still have, so I have more than I can count or that I should talk about, but I've got,
Talk
I'm
about
still,
like your biggest ones or your biggest convictions, I guess.
well, I think like one of my biggest convictions is Fluff World, right? So Fluff World, I've been talking about for a long time. I didn't
That's
get,
Ethereum.
yeah. So,
Okay.
well, it's Ethereum right now, and I'll kind of explain how they're evolving. And I don't know if it's a right or wrong move, but I have conviction in the team because they're an actual, they're not like, one or two developers. They're like a full on team, experienced people, right? So this is one of the things where, I didn't get a chance to mint it. I think the mint was like 0.08 or something, or 0.05, something like that. I ended up buying at like 0.7 ETH, like, I don't know, almost a year ago. And, like I stuck with them because they are constantly developing. They're constantly rewarding, similar to Bored Ape Yacht Club, where they're coming out with other things like, it's not just a picture of, it's not just a 3D animation of a bunny, but they've evolved, right? They've got like so many different parts of the ecosystem, and drug receipts is actually a part of it as well. And one of the things that is really cool about what they're doing is that, they're trying to create an open metaverse, meaning that they're not just trying to create it just for Fluff World and all of their associated properties. Like Fluff World is also associated with Altered State Machine, which is ASM, and those guys are backed by Delphi Digital and a lot of other brands. So those guys are building what they call is like non-fungible intelligence. So it's artificial intelligence that will allow your NFTs to do certain things that you program or you tell them into.
What was it called? Altered State?
Altered State Machine. Yeah, ASM, Altered State Machine. And so this is something that like myself, BrightDance, we got into, and we've just been enjoying kind of reaping the rewards of being a part of this thing, right? So Fluff World also got me access to like Jadu. So Jadu's coming out with an avatar project, but they're the ones that created like jetpacks and hoverboards for several different NFT projects. And I've made more than like 10 to 12 ETH just from their drops, right?
Wow.
And from selling it. So I'm like, okay, that's great, right? And I'm like, well, why would I sell my Fluff World now that's probably worth about 3.5 ETH? Why would I sell it? I know it's not Bored Ape level where it's worth 80 ETH, but I might as well just participate in the ecosystem more and just keep this one because I believe in what they're building. I'm just a little bit scared that they're building too much, too fast, and diluting the ecosystem a little bit.
I see.
And because there's a lot of NFTs, like they've got hundreds of thousands of NFTs now, and it's not, it's difficult because it allows more people to enter, but it's difficult to maintain focus. And and then they recently announced a partnership, which is a little bit interesting as well, but with XRP Ledger. I don't know what this. I think that what they're going to start to do is they're going to try to create their own L1 chain.
Oh wow!
And so this is so you remember like Axie, right? Axie Infinity. They created their own chain as well. They obviously had a huge hack, and that thing kind of fell off. But I think they're building. It's difficult to play any games or interact if you're paying all these gas fees all the time, right? You can't have a game or an ecosystem or some sort of environment where if you have to do a lot of number of transactions, you're literally just getting fleeced for paying Ethereum gas fees. So I think a lot of people are going to like L2s, or they're going to other chains that the transaction fees are not that high. But so that's the move that they're trying to make right now. I did share like a podcast from oh man, what is it the I can't remember the name of it was a pretty popular YouTube channel, but I'll put it in the chat again. But they did explain kind of why and how they're building this new meta, right? But we'll see if it actually works. Again, like I don't know what that means for the value of the actual NFTs, but for the company, I believe that it's a good move for them, as a company. So as a holder, I don't know. I've already been rewarded, so I'm just hanging out and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. That at least they're rewarding their holders and the loyal members. That is, it's respectable.
Yeah, and then other ones I'm in several Solana ones. I've had Snix has really helped me out. I would say he's very heavily involved in the Solana space. So they he's helped me out a lot in just getting access or information, or telling me some information about like why I wouldn't want to mint something. But Solana is tough, man, because like every single time I mint something on Solana, it literally just goes down.
I know.
So I don't love Solana because it's so easy for people to make NFTs. I love Solana as a community because I feel like it's probably more close knit than Ethereum as a whole. It's still a smaller community, um and but I don't love the fact that like people just mint and dump right away. It happens on ETH too. So it's just like it's all NFTs.
Yeah, much easier on Solana, and also like, yeah, I mean, Solana itself has like too many problems that it has to deal with. So I'm not even surprised by the slightest that people are doing whatever they can to quickly make their money on Solana, because it's
Yeah.
so much easier than like paying gas fees and getting your project on ETH and stuff. Obviously, there's like probably more due diligence and more money that is involved to even just get started on Ethereum. So I don't blame them.
Yeah, and Magic Eden, like the largest exchange on or the largest NFT marketplace on Solana, has now incorporated ETH NFTs. So now they're bringing ETH NFTs onto Magic Eden, and they're allowing some Solana collections to be paid in ETH as well, if you want. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's a big shift where they're trying to
Yeah.
bring everything together. And I have a lot of respect for Magic Eden and kind of what they're doing. I know that not everyone loves like the centralization and all this stuff, but I mean, they're doing a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So Elizabeth made a comment here. She's not going to be able to join the call, but she says that she doesn't really have a good sense of what's happening in NFTs. But let's see, I'm holding just a few that are worth anything, and don't see myself buying more unless a strong trend comes back. One thing I do fear is that some of the NFTs are becoming very complicated for the average user. CloneX required people to do some technical stuff, which I think was a turnoff for the average person. Yeah, I totally agree with this. Like, I think, even though the whole idea of like, buying a JPEG was so dumb and, such like, it seemed like such a weird money grab, at least it was simple, right? Like, at least people
Yep.
understood, oh, well, I'm buying this JPEG because I think it's art and I can display it on my Twitter and, print it out or whatever and say I own this. Now it's like, what exactly is going on? It's not even the fact that you're just buying a JPEG. There's like 50 different steps that are associated with it. So do you think like the NFT space has to figure that out and make it easier? Or do you think people are just going to have to learn and catch up to that sort of level of knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I guess it depends on what the NFT is trying to do. But like, let's say that, if you're just trying to change clothes on the NFT or change the look of the NFT that you have, it should be very simple. But, if an NFT is providing a tool for trading, for like analysis, things like that, I mean, I feel like there is a level of technicality that you may need to do. But one thing, and I don't want to go back to Fluff World again, but one thing that they did is like they're they have these they have like a thing called Silo, right? It's a Web3 messaging platform, and you can run a node on Silo, but it was very difficult because you'd have to run it on a Raspberry Pi, or you'd have to in typical fashion, right? Like in the past, if you wanted to run any node, you'd have to set up like an AWS or cloud account, or you'd have to just run it locally on your computer. Very technical to do that for any type of crypto node. So what they did was they created an NFT called Seekers, and the Seekers NFT is a node, so it allows you to run a node for Silo. And so I think that they're simplifying the process by making the node look cool. Like you get this Seeker NFT, it allows you to run a node, and then you'll earn emissions from whatever from the Silo network. Additionally, like these things that they airdrop to, they're called thingies, these spiders, they airdrop to Fluff World holders. You didn't have to pay for it. Like those things are like cloud mining things. So they will cloud mine the Fluff token. So it's not necessarily staking, but it's like a cloud mining thing. So I think it's just an interesting play, right? So it kind of solves, they're thinking ahead, because Elizabeth is absolutely right. things are getting complicated, and it's not easy for the normal person. And I think that, you know, Fluf and some of these other ones are doing things to make it easy through NFTs because it's more attractive that way. And I think, like we said this before about crypto, people will be using crypto and Web3 without even realizing they're using crypto and Web3. And that's the experience that you want to get to. It's like we use email, we use Gmail every day, we use our cell phones, iPhones. We never have to, we have really nice interfaces and a good user experience where we never have to learn about the technology. We don't need to know the different types of security that goes into our email or into our phones. We just, you know that it allows us to do what we need to do on a daily basis.
Totally. Well, listen, man, I think that's like a pretty good discussion so far. I definitely want to continue this. And I want to see if Snicks and Elizabeth can join so we could kind of do like a part 2 to this. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm good. I just think I want to reiterate what I said in the beginning is just have patience, resist the urge to FOMO. And it's not just in NFTs, all crypto in general. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and we can share opinions. And all of us, what we're doing is we're sharing opinions. We have no idea what is actually going to be a smart move or a good move or right move. I just share things that I find interesting, and it's by no way investment advice or a recommendation to buy that NFT. It's just like, this is what I'm looking for. The meta for NFTs is going to change. Like I said, I think that NFTs will be free. I think that, you know, there's going to be a handful of NFTs that will be very valuable and provide access. But I do think NFTs and that meta, we're going to go into the direction where the barrier to entry is so low for companies and brands that NFTs will be free, and then people will just be using NFTs without knowing what an NFT actually is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, let's leave it at that. I hope everybody does their research on NFTs. You guys could obviously join the Alpha Trades NFT side of the community. It's completely free. The Discord link is below. Hope y'all join in for more discussions with myself, Hui, Snicks, and Elizabeth, and we can talk more later. Okay. Thanks for joining, everybody. Thanks, Hui.
All right. See ya.
Cheers.